Will democracy survive the next couple of years?
Access to Democracy is made possible by donations from the following organizations. Thomson Reuters, a global company with expertise and insight to unravel complex situations in the areas of law, tax, compliance, government, and media. Their worldwide network of journalists and editors keep customers up to speed on relevant global events. Thomson Reuters, The Answer Company. Crutchfield Dermatology, a full-service treatment center and Medi-Spa in Eagan. Their goal is to help you look good and feel great with beautiful skin. With service built around courtesy, dignity, and respect, Mayo-trained Dr. Charles Crutchfield personally treats each patient and is acknowledged as one of the nation's best physicians. Truestone Financial, with locations in Minnesota and Wisconsin, has proudly served its members since 1939. Truestone engages, educates, and supports its members to ensure they have the tools to empower their financial well-being. Truestone Financial, your neighborhood credit union. Learn more at truestone.org. Edina Eye Physicians and Surgeons, a division of Twin Cities Eye Consultants, has proudly served the Twin Cities for more than 55 years now, in 7 convenient locations. Using the most advanced technology combined with human touch, Edina Eye offers comprehensive services and dedicated specialists committed to excellence, with innovative procedures and expertise for the most advanced eye care.
Welcome to Access to Democracy. I'm Bill Raker, host for today's edition of the program. We're excited to welcome as our guest Lisa Jemtrud, who is the Vice President of Community Relations and Outreach with the Better Business Bureau of Minnesota and North Dakota. Welcome, Lisa.
Hi, Bill. Thank you.
You know, I think many people, maybe most people, are somewhat familiar with the Better Business Bureau or the BBB. But I think there's a lot that we can learn as consumers about what the role of the Better Business Bureau is and how we can benefit from that and how you serve the business community. And so that's what we're going to focus on today. And if you're ready, we can get started.
Great, let's jump in.
Yeah, I would like to mention at the beginning that Lisa has very impressive credentials and experience for her role in the very important program that she has with the Better Business Bureau. She's been serving the Better Business Bureau for over 2 decades. Her work has included combating misleading advertising, investigating unethical business practices, and training consumers of all ages on how to spot scams and and avoid being taken advantage of in a fraud scheme. Lisa holds a master's degree in administration of justice with an emphasis on alternative dispute resolution and white-collar crime from Southern Illinois University. And I think this is important to mention too, Lisa, because it's really interesting that you chair the Coalition Against Marketplace Fraud, which is a partnership with regional law enforcement. And maybe we can get into that a little bit more later in the program. But let's start out by you sharing with us what the mission of the Better Business Bureau is. What's the vision and purpose of this organization?
I'm so glad you asked me that. The mission of the Better Business Bureau is to be the leader in advancing marketplace trust. It's an important mission. We've actually been around since 1912, so people definitely have heard of the BBB, but we have grown and changed with the marketplace over those years. And the vision really for the Better Business Bureau is to have an ethical marketplace where both buyers and sellers trust each other. That's good for the economy. That's good for our personal consuming habits. And we think overall it's a wonderful public service. And both consumers and businesses benefit from the existence of a BBB.
Well, I think we want to talk about how important each part of that relationship is. So let's go into what makes up the membership of the Better Business Bureau.
You know, I love talking about the membership of the BBB because it's kind of an interesting story. When BBBs first started, it was started by the business community who wanted to combat misleading and unethical advertising. This was the whole purpose of them banding together and forming an organization. From there, and actually this is one of the coolest things, it's just a little factoid, BBBs started right here in Minnesota. Just fun. There's so many cool things about Minnesota. And of course, we started the first Better Business Bureau too. But there are BBBs all over North America now. There's over 100, and they're, you know, portioned out. Some are metro area wide, and some have multi-states like us. We have Minnesota and North Dakota. But back to our members, right now, I actually pulled the exact stats just for today, because it does change. New members join and sometimes members exit. But as of today, the BBB of Minnesota and North Dakota has 6,548 accredited business members. We're one of the largest business associations in the upper Midwest. And when I say business association, I mean business supported. It's business supported in the best interest of consumers. And then the spread is mostly in Minnesota, about 6,100 businesses in Minnesota and about 400 in North Dakota.
So how did Minnesota and North Dakota come together to combine operations for the BBB?
You know, North Dakota never had one. They're very independent folks up there. And in 1997, we were looking around at the country and at all of North America to see if there were underserved areas. And North Dakota really didn't have a BBB serving it. It had been BBB of Minnesota for a long time. And in our earliest years, there were two baby BBBs, one for the city of St. Paul and one for the city of Minneapolis. And they merged really early on. But we sort of claimed North Dakota in 1997.
So you mentioned that around the country there are 100 or so Better Business Bureaus, but each one of them is independent. They have their own board of directors, their own management. Is that true? And is there like a loose coalition of them?
Yes, you're right about that. We are all run separately in the sense that we have our individual boards and CEOs, and individual membership bases that we're in charge of. And really that makes a ton of sense because we collaborate so closely with businesses, and when they need help, it only makes sense that we are working with the businesses that are headquartered in Minnesota and North Dakota. So we don't have businesses that are members from Florida here. Like, it doesn't work like that. But that's a great question. Did I cover it or did I miss a part of it?
No, I think you explained it very well. You used a word that I want to have you elaborate on when you talked about an accredited member of the BBB. The BBB rates companies based upon some kind of input. And so how does this accreditation, this rating, benefit the business member, and how does it benefit the consumer?
This is such an interesting question. I'm glad to get into it. First, about accreditation. Accreditation is a process. It's earned. A business has to apply. If they go through a background check and they sign a contract. It's a trust contract. It has 8 pieces to it, and they're really they're powerful, but it's also short. So I am going to read it so we can take it in. But there are 8 standards of trust that all of the accredited businesses must agree to, and those are to build trust, to advertise honestly, tell the truth, be transparent, honor promises, be responsive, safeguard privacy, and embody integrity. And each of those 8 standards have subsections and details about what that means. You don't just write a check and join the organization. BBB doesn't operate like that. You have to go through the background check first, which includes things like checking to see if you have government actions, to see if you have patterns of complaints, to see if you respond to complaints, if you have misleading advertising, if you don't have proper privacy disclosures on your website, if you're properly licensed in the state. So there are a lot of pieces to it. There's actually about 70 some things that our team checks before a business is eligible to belong to the organization. And it's just a really distinctive feature about BBB. And I'm glad I could bring it up.
Yes, thank you. I think it's important to understand that the Better Business Bureau is not a government agency. It's not affiliated with the government. It's not a regulatory agency. Membership for a business is voluntary, and that's how your organization is funded and operated. Is that correct?
Yes, exactly. We are funded by businesses. So for any consumers listening, again, it goes back to it's a business supported organization in the best interest of consumers. So all of the consumer services are free and made possible. They pay our salaries so we can help consumers make wise buying decisions in the marketplace. And actually, Bill, you asked me about ratings, so I should explain that too for the audience. So with ratings, and this is for those of you who aren't sure about BBB services, one of the things that we do is kind of rate and rank businesses' reliability in the marketplace. And we give businesses grades A through F. We also report on businesses that are both accredited with BBB and just all the other businesses we know about. So you can just search on our website is the easiest way, bbb.org. And you can look up a company name, you just type it in, and you get what we call a business profile. And you can find out all sorts of great stuff like their letter grade, A through F. And we're always very transparent about why the letter grade is what it is. It'll be right there. You can click on it and understand why. You'll be able to read the last 3 years of consumer complaints that we have on file. Now, of course, we go back so much further than just 3 years, but we also want to be fair and give on both the consumer and business side and give you the most recent marketplace experience that we have. So complaints after 3 years do fall off of our record, and we're just giving a more recent snapshot. We do believe in reporting on track record, so that is why we still uphold the 3-year time frame. But you can also find out where the business is located, who the principal officers are, their phone numbers, their website, if they're licensed. It's really great, and it's a super consumer tool for you if you are looking for a particular type of business or industry and you're comparing 2 or 3 of them. It just takes a few minutes to just look that up. It can really make a huge difference to you in your consumer journey.
So that's one of the real values, if not the main value to the consumer, to have the resources of the Better Business Bureau available to them. So tell us again, what's the website and how do we look up a company there?
Thank you. It's BBB, so short for Better Business Bureau.org. BBB.org. And that'll take you into the kind of the whole portal for the whole system in North America. But if you just type in the company name, you'll get to your BBB. So we will get you the right report. And of course, sometimes you do business with a company that you don't know where they're headquartered, but we'll sort that out for you and get you to the right place. Yeah. And yes, definitely, it's one of the biggest services for consumers that you don't always think of, that pre-purchase research. We say check before you buy. We want people to make wise buying decisions at the front end to try to save you from the trouble of having a bad experience and having to file a complaint with us on the other end. That's probably the other thing we're most well known for is, I'm going to turn you into the BBB. I'm going to file a complaint with the BBB. And we do absolutely help with that too.
Okay, so a consumer can contact the BBB to express whether or not they had a good experience with a member of the BBB or they had a bad experience. And that helps determine what the grade or the rating is going to be, right?
Absolutely. If there's one thing I'd want people to take away from this conversation is to tell us things. tell the BBB, share your marketplace experience, because we report it publicly and we want to work with businesses to make them better. And sometimes accidents just happen. Sometimes the business also can't see the pattern because of other things that they're doing. We are helping, we're helpful, we're hand holding to try to improve a business practice and to try to preserve the relationship between the business and the consumer. So we have a bunch of trained dispute resolution experts that help the business and consumer figure out their problem. And we do that all for free for you.
So how's the organization staffed? How many do you have volunteers, or you have paid employees? How does that work?
Yeah, so at our BBB, we have 38 full-time paid employees, and we are headquartered in Burnsville. But again, we serve Minnesota and North Dakota. We do have some volunteers. So the volunteers that we have are usually in the dispute resolution area. They are our mediators and our arbitrators that tend to be attorneys by trade in the Minnesota metro, or excuse me, in the Minneapolis-St. Paul region, but not exclusively. So we do have mediators, arbitrators. We do have some secret shoppers that assist our trade practices and investigations department, because we do other things behind the scenes to find out what kind of consumer experience people are getting. We test, and sometimes we need volunteers to help us find out information. We're not trying to trick businesses or catch them, but we are trying to get facts, and facts are what consumers need. And then we do also have volunteers to help us with some of our more fun programs. We do celebrate marketplace role models. That's a big deal to the BBB. We have a big Torch Awards for Ethics event, and we do have scholarships for high school seniors called the Student of Integrity Scholarship, and we utilize judges to help us with both of those contests.
That's exciting and really very interesting. You used the term accredited member, and so it made me want to ask this question. And don't give any names, don't be specific, but has the Better Business Bureau ever denied membership to a company, or have you ever excommunicated a company because of their practices?
Yes, and actually it breaks my heart every time we do it. But that, in another way, I am also completely confident in our process of why we do this. Sometimes things change at a company. We bring them in, they say, yes, we're going to do these things, we're going to abide by these standards, and somewhere along the line, the train goes off the tracks. And we have a team of member services personnel that are watching our accredited businesses to make sure that they are continuing to abide by the standards. And if they don't, we have a very specific process that has to do with both suspension and revocation. I, as a staff member, cannot revoke a company. Our board of directors formally does that. And we actually do it quarterly. So we do it maybe more often than you think. But I like to underscore that, and I like the community to understand that that's what we do, because it's not about the money for BBB. Again, we are about having a community of trustworthy businesses. We're a reputation-based organization. If you don't abide by your standards, you cannot be part of our organization.
Integrity in the business community and confidence on the behalf of the consumer is really a great service that the Better Business Bureau provides to both of those entities. The BBB is quite active in many different roles in the community. What are some of the other organizations that you partner with or that you have associations with?
Right, we can't do it alone. Trust is kind of a big operation, and there are a lot of octopus arms to trying to work with the marketplace. Businesses are in all sizes and stages of life. Consumers have varying issues and needs. We love to partner. Some of our favorite business partners include the Minneapolis Regional Chamber of Commerce. We do a lot of educational events with them. We also work closely with a lot of government agencies that are focused on helping businesses, like the Small Business Administration and the SBDCs, Small Business Development Centers. They have been wonderful partners with us over the years. On the consumer side, In that regard, we do some interesting things too. We work with Rotaries, although Rotaries sort of span both business and consumer. I guess they wear both hats. But one of our favorite groups that we work with on the consumer side is AARP. We have a ongoing program with them called Scam Jams. And actually we have another one coming up on April 21st. If anyone is interested, you can find that on our website events section where we bring in experts and we talk about the different scams in the marketplace and how to spot, stop, and report fraud.
That's great. Give another plug for the Scam Jam that's coming up. The date and time, and do people need to register? And if so, how can they do that?
Yes, thank you. So it is April 21st. It's at 11 a.m. And you can Google it. Actually, probably the easiest way is typing in Minnesota and North Dakota Better Business Bureau events, and you'll find it. And then you do register. It's easy. You just click the button and then you'll type in your email and things so we can send you the link. It'll be like a webinar link like this, and you just click it and then you will get your invite that you can watch us. And actually, if you can't watch it on April 21st, I would still register because we record it, and then you'll get an email that says how to watch it later. So those are so good to pass along to your family and friends too, because we talk about the hottest scams in the marketplace, and the scammers are so good that if there are any listeners who are thinking that you'll be easily able to spot the scam, I will tell you, with 20 plus years of experience working with scam artists and white collar criminals, they are very good. So let us help you give some tips for identifying and preventing it.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that. I do some presentations with the AARP speakers team about frauds and scams, and one of the resources that we always provide is the Better Business Bureau. So I know you play a really important and effective role in that respect. We talked about the organization not being a regulator or being government affiliated, but does the Better Business Bureau actually advocate for laws and regulations and policies that affect businesses and consumers?
Bill, I'm so glad you asked me that. I think this is an important clarification for BBB. We are, again, not government. We are a nonprofit organization. We do not lobby. We do not advocate. We take no political stances. And so the answer is definitely no. However, the only way we might get involved in something is if we're asked. So, for example, maybe there's a potential bill at the House, at the Capitol, and it's in committee and people are discussing this, that, or the other thing about it. They might say, let's reach out to the Better Business Bureau and get some facts, some statistics about a particular industry. And then of course we can pull those type of stats and offer it up. We do not provide an opinion along with our reporting.
Okay, well, that's good. That's good to know. How does the Better Business Bureau measure or gauge its impact and its effectiveness? I mean, do you have a mechanism for determining, hey, we're really successful at this, or we're doing a good job, or we need to improve in this area?
I love that question so much. How to measure performance, right? Especially with our type of work. How do you measure trust going up? How do you measure fraud going down? How do you measure a potential fraud victim who didn't get victimized because we gave them some information? It is tougher. I would say that we are really formal with our other BBBs across North America with performance groups, and we discuss anything from record keeping and trend analysis and how we're using our data and how we're protecting our data. From the internal side, we do a lot. Someday I'd love to see BBB go out of business because all the consumers are well informed and there are no scammers. But, I just think there's a reason why BBB is still needed after 100 and some years, because the issues just tend to be pervasive. I hope that doesn't mean we're not getting there with it, because we're still trying to progress on that front.
Well, let's talk about the future as we kind of get close to the end of our program here. The COVID virus, the pandemic, has made us adapt to a lot of different environments and changes. And how has this impacted the business community and maybe the future role of the Better Business Bureau as we come out of this pandemic?
Mm-hmm. You know what's weird, about the pandemic, and this isn't a surprise to everyone, but online transactions have really exploded. And with that, you lose the personal touch with a company that you maybe had in the past. Trust is built and earned with authenticity. And when everything becomes just transactional and not relationship based, when it becomes just web and hoping for the best, no more handshakes, fewer storefronts, potentially fewer storefront interactions, that absolutely is going to change how the marketplace looks. I would suspect that people will be still craving things like a trust mark, a seal from the BBB. They'll still want to see that to help them feel better about making decisions in the marketplace. But I am sure that we're going to see continued differences in consumer behavior. A lot of trends are pointing to consumers staying shopping in the virtual world because they've learned how now, and they appreciate some of the efficiencies that go along with it. Everything has pros and cons. You decide efficiency is better, you lose relationships and trust. It can get really muddy.
So it sounds like the more technology becomes pervasive in our worlds and business and our personal lives, that impacts how the Better Business Bureau interacts with businesses and consumers.
Oh, that's true. We're interacting more online with everyone too, through meetings like this and chat rooms. And I'm used to shaking hands and hugging people, and I think that's definitely different now.
Well, one last question. If you have a thought, is there anything more that you would like to tell us about the Better Business Bureau, or leave us with any additional thoughts or information?
Mm-hmm. I would just like to add that the BBB has a super consumer newsletter that comes over email. So if you want to sign up for that, I encourage you to go to our website, again at bbb.org. It'll take you to the Minnesota site, and then you can sign up. I think it's so helpful because it hits topics of interest for the season on how to be a more savvy consumer. It also hits the top scams. And I just think we can all benefit by being well informed.
Well, thank you so much. Our guest has been Lisa Gemtrude, Vice President of the Better Business Bureau of Minnesota and North Dakota. Lisa, thank you so very much for being a guest on our program today here at Access to Democracy.
Thank you, Bill.